Today I'd like to focus on the second reading, and that's where Paul wrote a letter to Timothy. And the letter from Paul explains some important things to Timothy that we always have to remember that our faith, we learn and we believe, and that's important, and that in the Bible, those readings help us towards salvation. So that made me think of what's called the Magisterium. And many people aren't aware of what that is, but it is the teaching authority of the bishops in the Catholic Church. And the magisterium is so crucial because it keeps the checks and balances on what is taught and passed down from generation to generation to make sure that it has continuity. Let me give you an example. Let's imagine that the Pope met an angel, and the angel said, "We've always focused on the Trinity, but it's really not a Trinity. It's a quadrinity, 4 in 1. Okay, 4 in 1, a quadrinity. And that is the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, and UFOs." And the Pope says, "Really?" So then the Pope goes and announces to the entire church that now we have to believe in the quadrinity. So then what happens is all over the world, the 5,000 bishops would say, no, 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 no. We know that it's the Trinity. It always has been and always will be. There is no quadrinity. And that angel could not have been from God and has led you some false information. So it helps us maintain that continuity, and it's quite wonderful because it prevents us from adding our own stuff into our church and into our faith. Priests can't just make up their own stuff. They have to follow the church's teachings. People would sit back and wonder, what is Father Mike teaching us? And then they would report that to the bishop, and I would get suspended. So just like the bishop can't make up his own stuff, they watch each other. The magisterium provides that continuity within the church. And when we're reading the Bible, it is important, yes, but we can't use ourselves to provide an interpretation for what we read in the Bible, because that leads us to think that we're right and everybody else is wrong. I mean, look at all the different churches and belief systems that are out there and their interpretations. The magisterium helps us follow one interpretation of the Bible. And let me give you an example. When Paul wrote that letter to Timothy, Paul died, and Timothy took that letter and showed it to other people and explained what it meant. And he made sure that people understood what Paul's meaning was in that letter. So then those people explained it to further people, and it was passed down, and that is kind of the magisterium. Let me give you a simple example here. Let's say you found an old recipe from your great-great-grandmother's apple pie. And in the recipe, it calls for a pinch of salt. So if you add too much salt, then your mother might look at you and say, no, 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 remember, my mother taught me that a pinch of salt is just that, a teeny pinch of salt. So you have to remember how much a pinch of salt is. And then you would teach your son or daughter how to make that apple pie and follow that recipe. And you would make sure that they used an actual pinch of salt. So you have the written recipe plus a demonstration of teaching people how to do it. And it's the same thing with the interpretation of the Bible. The church helps us interpret the meaning, and that is passed on from generation to modern day, and will be passed on from generation to generation in the future. So the magisterium is very important, and we should be thankful to God, because with that, our faith has been the same and has been continuous for over 2,000 years. Thank you, and God bless you.